Hello and welcome back to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel. Today we'll be looking at the Ford Cortina Mk V. Welcome back, and if you're into car brochures, please do subscribe. There'll certainly be something for you, and it certainly helps the channel as well. So today's episode, the Ford Cortina Mk V. One thing to note when I talk about these brochures, I'm looking at them from a completely impartial view. I know there's some staunch Ford cars viewers out there as well as Vauxhall viewers. I try to keep it as fair as possible. But anyway, the Ford Cortina Mk V launched in August 1979. It was really there as an update for the previous Mk IV, and we'll certainly have a look at some of them differences in this episode. We'll also have a look at the spec levels, and a few people have asked about the S-Pack options on the Mk V Cortina, so we'll have a look at the S-Pack options and what that included as well. So when it was coming out, the Mk V, it was initially under the code name as Teresa, later known as the Cortina 80, but more or less straight after its launch it was just known as the Cortina Mk V. Today's brochure, it is a launch brochure, so this is from 79 as well, and you can see it's saying the new Ford Cortina. So let's open this up and see what we can find. New Ford Cortina, a car that's built for reliability. So here we have it, as Mk V. Like I said, it was launched or announced in August 79. I think it was the 24th of August 79 to be exact. This is a September brochure, so this is a very early brochure for the Mk V. The prices started at £3,479 for the very basic 1.3. And like I said, it was largely an update of the Mk IV. I guess let's put a Mk IV brochure. This particular brochure I'm going to add on now is actually from October 77. I do apologise. So this is for the Mk IV. So if we put them side by side, we can clearly see the differences. One of the main ways to recognise the Mk V or the Mk IV, or the easiest way, I always think, is these indicators, how they wrap around where they didn't previously. And this update was really, I think, just to make it look like it was more part of the Ford range at the time. There were more improvements, of course. Other than that, these were updated headlamps. In fact, this roof was more rounded actually on the Mk IV. It was more flattened on the Mk V as well. These grille was different. You can see the different grille. Apparently they used to say that that grille was there, and it does mention it in this brochure. It's talking about this grille like this for aerodynamic reasons, but I'm not really sure how much extra aerodynamics you would get on this very flat fronted car. I'm not sure. We also got things like a larger glass area, slimmer C-pillars, revised vent covers. What else did we get? We got slightly larger slatted tail lights on the Saloon and an updated trim. So it wasn't a huge change by any stretch of the imagination. And you can also see how the bumpers, they go a bit further on there. But like I say, it wasn't a huge change. Like Cortinas before them had been quite drastic changes. This was like a lesser change than what we'd seen before. But anyway, there we had it, the new Ford Cortina. I also remember them talking about how the Cortina sadly was kind of like known in the 70s for being quite a car that rusted readily, you could say, and they said they improved the rust resistance on the Mk V, although sadly they did certainly suffer from rust. But you're probably more likely to see a Mk V around these days than a Mk IV, sadly. But anyway, enough waffle, let's open the brochure up. So as you can see, it says here, Ford have introduced a great number of engineering advances on the new Cortina. Each one is important in itself, and together they add up to a car that's built for reliability. On the outside, up front is a new aerodynamic louvered grille, making Cortina's good looks look even better and reducing drag at speed. There are also safety improvements too, such as the wraparound front turn indicators, bigger tail lamps with integral fog lamps on the saloons, window mounted spring back rear view mirror, either fixed or remote control on some models, greater window area on all saloon models for better, safer visibility, a laminated windscreen fitted as standard, body protection has been improved as well, the wraparound bumper and end caps for example are new, and the paintwork process is, to say the least, thorough. First, the body receives anti-corrosion treatment, then it is given 2 coats of primer. Any vulnerable parts of the bodywork, such as the box sections, chassis members and bottoms of doors, are protected with wax injection. The wheel arches and vulnerable underbody areas are treated with chip-resistant PVC coating. Finally, 3 coats of tough acrylic paint are baked on, and the remaining underbody areas are sprayed with tough wax anti-corrosion sealant to safeguard them against salt spray. So they were making a really big deal. It was almost like kind of acknowledging that the Mark IV really did have rust issues, and they tried to say, don't worry, we've got this sorted now, no more rust issues for the Cortina. Sadly, they did certainly have rust issues, but like I say, not as bad as the Mark IV. And we can have a look at a few of these small little images of the Mark V. On the opposite page, it's saying the car that's built for reliability. So it's saying on the inside, the new seats have been designed to give improved comfort together with better lumbar, lateral and shoulder support. The see-through detachable head restraints are available with an additional cushion pad. This feature is available on some models only. The seat reclining mechanism is operated by hand wheel to make adjustment control smooth and more precise. The lower seat belt attachment is mounted on the seat, so it stays correctly aligned no matter where the seat position is adjusted. And whichever model you choose, there's a new range of styles and colours in the seat fabrics. The redesigned fascia has 2 independently adjustable vents in the centre for fresh air plus warm air vents at each end. There is also a 3-speed heater control. The L, GL and Gear models all feature a new centre console unit. The GL and Gear have a handy lower console as well. On the technical side, if I can sort that, there we go. First improved suspension due to 3 main features. Rear gas shock absorbers for increased comfort and durability. A larger diameter front stabiliser bar to reduce roll and give greater stability. Revised spring and shock absorber settings for a more comfortable ride. Secondly, a variable Venturi carburetor with award-winning sonic idle system is fitted to the 1.3 and 1.6 single choke engines to reduce fuel consumption. Next comes a viscous coupled fan fitted to all engines. This thermostatically controlled unit allows the fan to idle when the engine cooling requirements are low. This minimises lost engine power. In addition to improved performance and fuel consumption, the fan also gives lower noise levels and faster warm-up times. Then there's an improved V6 engine, a new cylinder head and with improved combustion chambers. Porting and valves gives better performance. What's more, the V6 engine also features electronic breakerless ignition for peak performance at all times. So yes, as well as these kind of, you could say, minor changes to the bodywork, there were certainly improvements to the engines, both in fuel economy and power output. On the service side, the new Cortina now only requires a major service every 12,000 miles, with a reduced service at 6,000 miles. Some of the features that make for ease of service and lower costs include the following: maintenance-free wheel bearings, self-adjusting clutch, self-adjusting brakes that can now be checked without removing the wheels, simple to adjust headlamps, and external bulbs that can be replaced without using tools on the Saloon. Check at a glance battery, a brake fluid and windscreen washer bottle. Sometimes think, things like the headlamps being, easy to change the bulbs. I wish they had kind of like things like that now, but certainly they were nice features at the time. And lots of options beside. Whichever Cortina model you choose, there's a wide range of options available. Here is just some of them. Look down the list and see which ones are right for you. So these would have been all options you could have on the models. Obviously you couldn't have all these on, it would depend on what spec level, but you was available to have the S pack, we'll have a look at that in a moment, automatic transmission, halogen driving lamps, inertia rear seat belts, power operated radio antenna, stereo cassette player, sunroof, vinyl roof, alloy road wheels, the business pack for estate cars, headlamp wash, passenger door mirror, stereo radio, remote control door mirrors, tinted glass, power assisted steering, and it says so much to choose from, but whichever one you choose, you can count on them. After all, they're designed for the new Cortina, a car that's built for reliability. And then as we turn the page once again, he's talking about the new Cortina Saloon. So let's just pull back and have a look at this in a bit better detail. The Cortina Saloon. I always think this is particularly unusual, the two-door ones, and I would imagine they'd be quite rare. It's a long time since I've seen a two-door Cortina. I think the four doors actually look a little bit better balanced, but there we go. Certainly a rare car. It says this vehicle illustrated is a Cortina Saloon, two-door in Cordoba beige with tan vinyl trim. Optionals fitted at extra cost, a passenger door mirror. So even at this time you still had to pay a little bit more on your base model to get that passenger door mirror. Kind of like a safety feature that we have on cars today that you don't really give a second thought to, but there it is as an optional extra. As we move down, it's then showing one up in the spec levels, the Cortina L. It's saying this vehicle illustrated is a Cortina L Saloon, four-door in Corsican blue with blue Savannah fabric trim. Optionals fitted on this model is passenger door mirror. So again, even on the L we had to pay a bit more for that passenger door mirror. And it also gives a few little look inside. That's your base model. And that nice blue interior of the Cortina L. Still, as you can see, a very basic functional interior. On the opposite page, we're going up to the Cortina GL now with these very striking red seats. It says the vehicle illustrated is a Cortina GL Saloon in Strato Silver with red Windsor fabric trim. A nice little combination there, I think. Options fitted at extra cost are a passenger door mirror. Yes, still on the GL, we're having to pay a bit more for that door mirror. Rear seat belts and metallic paint. Nice to see rear seat belts appearing though, because this is the late 70s after all. It's certainly not something that has to be worn at this time. If we go down the page, we go up to the next model, the GLS. looking very nice there in red. And it says here, the vehicle illustrated is a Cortina GLS Saloon in Venetian red with tan Windsor fabric trim. Options fitted at extra costs. We've now got a sunroof, these nice sort of light headlamp washers, and of course that passenger door mirror is still not a standard piece of kit. And then on the opposite pages it gives a few more pictures of that GL model and the higher spec GLS, which I think looks very nice with those driving lamps. And then on the next page it's kind of a car you aspired to own, or the car you aspired to move up in the business to having as your company car, the Cortina Ghia. It says the vehicle illustrated is a Cortina Ghia Saloon in solar gold with chocolate, Durham and crushed velour fabric trim. Options fitted at extra cost, or your passenger door mirror. So yeah, you're still having to get your passenger door mirror fitted as an extra cost, even on this top of the range model. Sunroof, we've also got an automatic transmission on this one, and this metallic paint. This I think is a very nice model indeed. And of course this is at a time when Ford really made you want the higher spec models, because there was, you know, that they like to really show off the top models compared to your base model. If you had a base model, it was almost kind of like looked down at. So there was such a big change in sort of like appearance, if anything else. There still weren't a huge ton of equipment on there, as you can imagine, but it was a far more attractive car if you got the top of the range models. And you can certainly see that in yours. Very nice seats. And, you know, a little bit of wood just to know you were something special. You can't beat a little bit of wood, can you, to show off to your friends? No doubt it wasn't real wood, but let's not think about that too much. And then the opposite page, it's just showing the Cortina L, your sort of practical load lugger. This one it's saying is the Cortina L estate car in Nova Green with chocolate Savannah fabric trim. Options fitted at extra cost, that passenger door mirror of course, and that nice green metallic paint. Certainly a very practical vehicle in estate form, and I think quite an attractive car overall. And then we get to what we call the S-Pack. So the S-Pack basically, you originally could get a Cortina S, and why not have a look at that actually. We'll go back to this October 1977 brochure, and we'll be able to see the Cortina S. This older brochure showing the Mark IV. Like you can see, the Cortina S is a model on its own in between the GL, no GLS gear, so this is kind of like your GLS at the time. So it's featuring the V6 engine, driving lamps, low profile tyres, uprated suspension, gas shock absorbers, head restraints, unique seat trim, and Ford push button radio. And there it is in all its glory. It certainly looks like a fine car, and possibly the car that you really wanted, particularly with these very nice seats. But anyway, let's get back to the other brochure and see how that's changed. So yeah, the S-Pack options, you could have just the S as an option, and you could get that on the Cortina L, the Cortina GL, or the Cortina Ghia, and just say I want the S-Pack on that particular model. And it was different. You got different levels of equipment depending on which Cortina you were speccing up. So for example, on the Cortina L, you've got a 1600 twin choke engine, overriders, driving lamps, S badge on the boot, tachometer, head restraints, 4-spoke steering wheel, revised suspension settings, front gas shock absorbers, sports gear lever knob, sports road wheels. And then if you was doing the same thing and had a Cortina GL and said, I want the S-Pack, they would say, you can't have that with the 1600, but you will get overriders, driving lamps, S badge on the boot, a tachometer, revised suspension settings, front gas shock absorbers, sports gear lever knob, and that 185/70 HR by 13 tyres like you did previously. And again, you could have that S-Pack on your gear as long as it wasn't the 1600, and this time you would just receive driving lamps, sports gear lever knob, revised suspension settings, front gas shock absorbers. So it was different whichever model you went for, and that's kind of like an example of those nice driving lamps you would have got on the S-Pack. And then on the back page it finally shows the Ford Cortina range. I wonder which one you could have, you personally would have picked. I think I personally am quite happy with that nice gear, and maybe I would have had the S-Pack on there as well, although I'm sure I couldn't have afforded it. And then on the side there we can see the different models. Gives you also a bit of an idea what the colours might have been as well. And overleaf as well, we continue with the Cortina gear, the estate, the Cortina L estate, the Cortina GL estate, and the Cortina gear estate. And at the bottom somewhere it kind of gives you the date, I do believe, September 1979. So there we go, the Mark V Ford Cortina. It was also briefly sold in Australia. I think it was around about 1980 when it came to Australia, known as the TF Cortina, and that was dropped in 1982. It wasn't really a great sales success. Back to the UK, the last Cortina, a Silver Crusader, rolled off the Dagenham production line on the 22nd of July 1982 on the launch of the new Sierra. Although I do believe they were still being sold much later. I think they were still around in Ford dealerships and Ford courts all the way till 87. They were still selling the last of them. Replacement, well, it was a drastic change. We don't realise what a drastic change it was, but if I show you the replacement, the Sierra, what a huge change it was, and it certainly had a bit of resistance, this sort of jelly mould design. We kind of like forget how drastic that change was from this very much what you would draw a car to look like to this much more futuristic looking car. So I'm not surprised there was a little bit resistance at the start of this for the Sierra, although we certainly regard the Sierra quite highly today. So there we go, the Ford Cortina Mark V. Let me know what your views or your memories of the Ford Cortina were. For me, it was my first job. My boss had a Mark IV red Ford Cortina that rusted so badly it was eventually just used as a place to store plant pots in. Later, he replaced that with a blue Mark V Ford Cortina that did exactly the same thing. So rust was still an issue, but it wasn't quite as bad, I guess. But anyway, thank you so much for watching today. There'll be many more episodes to come, so please do like and subscribe. You take care, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.